A very important date is rapidly approaching for Bitcoin, which has marked off major reversal points for Bitcoin throughout its full history. And of course, we're going to be going over some short-term price action as well. We're going to be going over the last week's worth of analysis, essentially, where we have been looking for downside targets. The first sort of portion of that is starting to be met right now, but is there more? Is there more before this is all said and done? It's kind of the focus of today. And before we get into this one, I want to once again let you know that the signups for the Krown School are still open for the next 12 days, 6 hours, 31 minutes, 44 seconds, and counting one by one there. There is limited spots available. And I should let you know that the purpose of this program is to essentially give you my sort of strategy template, a very basic one, a very generic one that allows you to kind of iterate upon it. So that's the full focus of that one. It is geared towards more beginners. If you're, especially from this community, if you're like a super beginner and, you're looking for instructions on how to put in, transfer to your account, create an account and open a long, then go fuck yourself because it's not for you. But it's still available for you in the link in the description below. And without further ado, we'll jump into the fun portion of this analysis right on over here. Actually, no, not the fun portion just yet, but the most important portion. We'll start off this one. So as you can see right here, I do have this red vertical bar marked off on a very specific date. It is Friday, the 21st of June of the year 2024, coming up in, about 6 days from now, basically this coming Friday. Why is this date important? This is a quad witching date, meaning that there are 4 major expirations going on for traditional markets, which is going to have impacts for Bitcoin. We've seen this sort of analysis in the past. We actually focused the last major one on September's, which did accurately predict that Bitcoin was going to have a major reversal, or wasn't necessarily a reversal, but a major pivot point, I should say, starting in September, which did lead, throughout this, this current run. I'll show you right on over here. Actually, this was going back to, September one was right here. I have the June one marked off right over here, but it was actually where my cursor is currently right now, which did obviously precede this major low before Bitcoin did, well, zoom upwards and onwards to the right. What I've done now is I've gone into the June dates for those quad witchings. And if we go over here and look at the full history of Bitcoin, we can see, or maybe you can't see because I don't have this accurately put there. We can see that 11 out of 14 have been major pivots on the market. Major pivot, again, not necessarily the same thing as major reversal, but we can see, for example, many of these finding major highs and major lows are very close to it, within about a week or two of that date. So I'll focus on a few here so that you can get a better idea of this. But of course, one of the last major ones that we saw in 2021 was coming off of, basically the low in terms of price action, or very close to it. Actually, the week following that one did make the low. But from there, that was the low before marching on to new all-time highs. We have this one over here from 2022. Again, a very crazy move to the downside. That was on the FTX Luna, or sorry, not FTX, but Luna collapse, I believe, which did mark the low on that one before a pretty significant pop back onto the upside. This was a 43% move to the upside over the next couple months. So, very, very large price action there. And then most importantly, kind of, ending or signaling the end of this major dump that we did see really beginning for like the half year before that. Going back to, 2019, this was essentially marking off the highs within actually to the week. Over here, marking off the low of the prior dump before a nice little pump. Over here, major high before putting a major low, major high before putting a major low yet again. Same thing over here, and this one very, very close to a low, and so on and so forth. So the reason why I'm focusing on this one is because, one, Bitcoin likely spends this next week coming back onto the downside, but within a week or two, maybe three, we're probably very close in terms of timing to that next major low. So that means that implies that I would be looking for Bitcoin to continue to the downside this week, maybe even the week after that as well. But at that point, probably looking somewhere very, very close to the next major low in terms of price, that is, unless if this is actually going to mark off the high. Now, I have made this particular one red right here, which you will notice that there are 3 throughout the full history of Bitcoin that I've also, or 3 prior ones, I should say, that I've marked off as well. These all correlate to the June quad witching dates for halving years. And these ones actually a little bit more, these ones are actually the ones that were not really major pivots in general. They were essentially boring sideways consolidation pieces before Bitcoin, ultimately went to the upside significantly in the following months. But you will notice on all of these, there was at least 3 to 4 months minimum of mostly boring price action, mostly peaceful price action, where very little happened actually. It was a slow trudge to the upside, very peaceful indeed, but if you're around during these times, you're bored as fuck. I mean, specifically the most recent one in 2020, Bitcoin did have a quick move after that, but realistically, this was all just a range play right here with Bitcoin kind of retesting close to the prior all-time highs. So, it can put in some time, obviously, is what I'm trying to say. And this is going to really start to morph my own view of what's happened in this cycle to probably be more in alignment with, I think, what most people expect, because with Bitcoin stalling here, or likely to stall here, for the next few months, we're probably going to see this market cycle go into 2025, at least like the first quarter of it, I would imagine, before it's all said and done. So this is going to essentially lengthen the cycle, but curtail the excitement in the short term. Anyways, moving on from there, I do want to get into some fun stuff just because it's fucking fun, and it's also nice just because there's always like a really polarizing response from the moon chart. But once again, you have to be asking yourself, would you have traded better than this in the past? And we did get the bear moon, which has signaled the high of this, of the current daily before this nice downside move. Of course, the last upside signal that we did reference right here, this one did actually close profitably, and I actually do have a small account using this script on the quant automation services, which is actually actively trading this one. Now, it's not trading this particular strategy right here. This is just a downside strategy. I just want to see the results. I'm actually just trading the upside ones, as those do have better results long term, just to prove it to myself, to be honest, because again, it does sound crazy to me, but yes, it seems like this particular one is having the same effect as what we typically do see: downside price action into the next major moon. Why am I calling this one out right now? Just for shits and giggles? Well, maybe, but also we can see that the next bull moon, if you want to call it that, full moon, whatever the fuck, moon, is actually going to be on that same quad witching date this coming Friday. So we have quad witching plus moons. Who knows what happens after that? Mercury might even be in retrograde, and you know what that means, because I don't. Anyways, moving on from there, I do just want to follow up on a few of the other major signals that we've been following throughout this week for Bitcoin. Weekly time frame confirming that drive of phantom regular bearish divergence. 5-day time frame also confirming the same. Simultaneously yesterday on yesterday's closure for CME for that week. And so yes, this next week we very likely do see another leg down. Probably closer to maybe 62 to 63. Looking at stochastic momentum, all time frames remain to the downside on CME. Again, not trading over the weekend, so weekend might try for a little bit of a bounce. We can see that this is going to open up on the daily with a break of this trendline regression that has been governing the last few lows. So that also says to me breakdown a lot more likely, just because we're breaking this trend. And so we should expect something new, which is exactly what trend implies. And if the prior trend was to the upside, well, we should be expecting a downside here. Anyways, 2-day time frame, same shit, or well, not same shit, but it is going to be coming down as well. 70,400, the current pivot, so obviously remains to the downside. Let's actually go to the 3-day. I just want to show this as well. 3-day time frame, also crossing the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 68,400. 5-day time frame also did fail the momentum pivot yesterday by a couple $1,000. 67,800 was the number to beat. It failed that. Also going to be losing the bullish control zone here, very, very likely, on next week's open. And the weekly, same shit as well. $67,000 was a pivot basically, and downside, does emerge from there. So again, very, 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 very likely to see this next week worth of price action come to the downside. Of course, that begs the question where. I still have the same thing to say as before, basically. Somewhere probably closer to 618 in this case, which is $62,500 or a little bit above there, but anywhere between there and the 50% retracement level, which is 64.4, is likely going to be fair game for the next potential low on this current price action. That would still be a higher low. I mean, shit, anything really above $57,500 can be another higher low. There is one slightly concerning thing over here to me, is that the 5-day time frame for CME did close below the median, as did the weekly, I believe, too, or closed right on it, but that's gonna fucking break. Well, it closed very slightly below it, but yeah, that one's extremely likely to break. Technically speaking, the bottom end of this current range is actually pretty much around the prior low. Now, I do expect this area to kind of step up coming into the next open on Monday, but we won't know that until Monday. So that would probably be another natural target for the next major low on this dump, or it's consolidation really. Anyways, that's going to do it for me today. As always, I want to wish you the best. Tomorrow, funnily enough, I'm actually going to be doing a live stream on the Crypto Banter channel. Not that I'm like joining their team or anything like that, but we do want to get the word out about the program that I'm doing in combination with a branch of their sort of, I guess, business. Is that what you want to call it? The Crypto School branch. So we want to, we kind of want to build up more awareness there. So we'll do kind of like the normal streams, I guess, that I do. But just a one-off there. It'll be kind of near the morning for you in the European time zones of this world, around 11-ish, let's say. And yeah, we'll go from there. Should be a nice little time. I don't expect a whole hell of a lot because it's gonna be a Sunday, obviously. But yeah, if you're looking for something to do, if you're like me and you're a fucking nerd, maybe that could be a cool place to hang out. All right, sweet. That's going to do it for me today. As always, if you find this content valuable, please do consider liking and subscribing and herping the derp button as well. And we'll leave things right there. Wishing the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.